Good evening. Welcome to ONV as we present a healthy conversation. I am your host, Nurse Pat, and tonight my guest is a representative of the American Heart Association. Before we get into the discussion, I'd like to share a quote with you from Gus Finley. Nothing glows brighter than the heart awakening to the light of love that lives within it. And I'd like to turn to my guest and let her introduce herself and tell you what she does with the American Heart Association.
Absolutely. My name is Shannah Flory. I am the Development Director for the American Heart Association here in Northeast Indiana. My primary role is to help spread awareness and educate our general public, as well as fundraising for the American Heart Association, putting on programs such as Go Red for Women and STEM Goes Red here locally.
Now, generally in February is Heart Month.
Yes.
And I think it centers around Valentine's Day and everything that is associated with the heart. But I know this year the Go Red has been moved. And can you tell us when that's going to be?
Yeah. So this year, our Go Red will be on May 15th at the Pearl downtown. Traditionally, we have had it in February in the past, but that good old Indiana weather is unpredictable. So we actually made the change permanently to keep it in May, which also centers around women's health, which makes sense.
Okay, and since we're talking about the American Heart Association and heart disease, and we know that heart disease can be deadly, heart disease also can be cured. Well, I won't really say cured, but it can be helped where you can live with heart disease. And I find a lot of people don't know where to turn when they have been diagnosed or they've had a heart attack or they've been diagnosed with some issues with their heart. How can the American Heart Association help them?
Absolutely. So we are actually working on very beginning stage. My sister and I would like to put together a survivor group. My sister, unfortunately, as you know, suffered a cardiac arrest last year, 2 weeks after my Go Red. So she is very passionate about creating a survivor group here in the community. I also know that our local hospitals have support groups as well. As far as the AHA representation in the community, we want to come alongside our survivors, our faith-based organizations, our nonprofit organizations to ensure that we're providing the best education and resources available to them to help them through this process.
And women are seems to be now affected a lot by heart disease. And I know women tend to it's okay. I'm just tired. I've done too much, but I still got to take care of the household.
It's
I
easy
still
to do.
have to I've got to cook, I've got to grocery shop. And we find that women don't take their health as serious when it comes to heart disease. But heart disease is, I believe, about the number one
It is.
killer among women because they ignore the symptoms of heart disease. And if you were talking to a lady today, what would you say to her about getting checked? Because you did share with me, and I knew this before tonight, that your sister had a cardiac arrest. And she's a very young person.
She is. So my piece of advice for women is to listen to your body. I could go on and on about all the different tips and tricks, but listening to your body, knowing your family history, and knowing that cardiovascular disease does not discriminate towards your age, your gender, anything. It can happen to anyone. So we're the ones that are taking care of our family. If we're not taking care of ourselves, if something happens to us, who's going to take care of our families? We've got to be there for our families.
But we don't think about that in the
We don't.
time that is happening. We just think about, oh, the baby needs this. I got to go to the school. They're having a bake sale. I have to go watch my son play football. I got to go to the tennis practice. I got to get him here and I got to get him there. And those are the things that we come first and foremost in our mind. And Shannah shared with us, she's not in the medical field. Her position is with the American Heart Association to help get awareness out there. But being a nurse, I do know that women tend to just not
They
take
don't.
care of themselves properly. They want to make sure the husband get to the doctor. They want to make sure the kids get all their
Yep,
appointments in, and they put themselves on the back burner.
they do.
And you did say you could tell us about some of the things that the red flags to look for.
Yeah.
When you're talking about red flags, what are some of the things that you would say are the red flags that we should look for?
Yeah. So it's really important to understand that women can present differently than men. Women are going to have the different symptoms, so they might not have that crushing chest pain, that radiating left arm pain that we typically think of for a heart attack. It could be indigestion, really bad heartburn. Think of the worst heartburn that you've had in your life. It could be pain in the middle of your shoulder blades. It could be generally feeling unwell. Unfortunately for women, there's just so many things that could potentially be a symptom that we often, again, throw on the back burner. So we're not aware of those things.
So, I got this heartburn. I ate something I shouldn't have. I'll chew a few Rolaids and I'll go lay down and it's going to go away. But that is something that you should not do. I can tell you that. And if it persists for a long time, that tiredness that just doesn't go
Fatigue.
away,
Yeah.
the lack of sleep. And I have found, and I've heard so many people say to me, well, I'll just go lay down. If I lay down, it'll go away. What would you? I just want to go lay down.
I would encourage you, especially if you know that you're at risk or if there's a family history, to have that light in the back of your head saying, what if this were to be something else? If you have someone there at your home, obviously having them drive you to the hospital, dialing 911 obviously is that first line of immediate care. But really just listening to your body. You know your body more than anything. And if something doesn't feel right, even if you're thinking, should I go in the hospital? Typically, if you're questioning yourself that, you should probably go in.
Now, there's another component to this that I'd like for you because I've sat in on one of your programs, CPR.
Yeah.
How does that help with the person that's having the heart attack? What can I do as a layperson to help my son, my husband, my sister, my next door neighbor that is experiencing a heart attack or cardiac arrest?
Absolutely. So by performing hands-only CPR, so if this person, if you know a loved one has gone down and their heart is not beating, you cannot find a pulse, the immediate thing that we want to do and we want our public to do is to immediately start doing chest compressions. By doing those chest compressions and the hands-only CPR, we are keeping the blood circulating through your body, keeping them alive while you're, calling 911 for professional help to come. We can still double, if not triple, the chances of the person's survival just by doing hands-only CPR.
And when you say hands only, what am I doing? Standing there waving my hands or
No.
jumping up and down like this? What do you mean by hands only?
So hands only means that we are only delivering chest compressions. So when you typically think of your CPR, you're going to push hard and fast in the center of the chest, around 100 to 120 beats per minute. But typically you're going to take your hand and place it, your heel of your palm right here, right on the sternum, and overlay your other one. You're going to keep your arms straight and squared over the person's body while going down about 2 inches.
And how long should you do that?
Well, it depends. So if you are by yourself, you are going to want to do that as long as you can until help arrives. If you have someone that is also trained in hands-only CPR, usually at 2 or 3 rounds, you're going to want to switch out because it's very exhausting and tiresome.
Now, how would people learn how to do that? You YouTube it?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways.
Okay.
So the American Heart Association has a link on YouTube where we have all of our hands-only CPR demos and trainings on there for the public to view. It goes probably 90-second video. It's very quick. Or you can reach out to individuals like myself, your CPR trainers in the community. But there's different ways, there's different levels, I guess, of the CPR engagement. So if you just want hands-only CPR, we often do community events as well, where we're going to invite the public in to get experience and hands-on with the mannequin so they can see and feel just how difficult it is to perform a compression.
Now, that is, and I am a CPR instructor. And so we advise households to learn CPR, learn how to
Yes.
call 911, because that again does help. Now, we talked about cardiac arrest and heart attacks. Is there a difference?
Yes. So we like to explain it when we are working in the community. A heart attack is more of a plumbing issue. So you have a physical blockage in your heart that is causing the heart to stop beating. It's having an occlusion. Whereas the cardiac arrest is an electrical issue. There is something electrically going on in your heart, whether that is an abnormal heart rhythm or that is going to lead to that ultimate cardiac arrest, which is your heart stopping.
Now, you spoke a little bit, and I know I don't want to seem like I'm jumping around, but stuff you say, it pops in.
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about support groups. What does that do for the person that has experienced either a heart attack or cardiac arrest?
I think it gives them a place to feel heard. It gives them the support from another survivor's point of view to let them know that they aren't alone. Something that I have seen firsthand with my sister is the mental load and the mental, hit that it takes. It's very hard for survivors to think, why me? Or, why did this happen to me? Or maybe even survivor's guilt sometimes. I'm so healthy. Why did this happen? So having a support group can just provide a neutral area where people can be vulnerable and really share their experiences.
Okay. And being a part of the American Heart Association myself for quite a while, we do find out children are capable.
Yes.
I don't want to use the word capable, but are vulnerable to heart disease and heart attacks, cardiac arrest. As a parent, if you were speaking with a parent who said that, what would they look for in their child? Because we think of our kids being born with healthy hearts. They're going to run around, knock over stuff, skin their knee, bump their head, and get up and whine and go on back to it, forget all about it. But if you did not really know that your child had an issue, what would be some of the things that you would kind of zoom in on?
It could be a little bit more difficult with kids, because typically with kids, they're not having that blockage of a heart attack. It's going to be more of your cardiac arrest, which is an electrical issue. And a lot of those things, they're very sudden. They come on with an instant, and there might not be symptoms, depending on whether they have an underlying heart condition or if it was brought on by something else. But fatigue is usually generally a really big precursor to that. Feeling really tired. So if your child is really tired all the time and, maybe can't exercise or perform to their best ability, or if they're struggling with exercises, it might lead or think that there might be something else going on.
Would you do CPR on a child?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. At what age?
Yeah, at any age.
Okay.
You
mean a baby?
Yeah. So it's going to be a little different. So with infants, we're going to want to use 2 fingers because they're so little and fragile. By either putting your hands almost like sandwiched around their little bodies, you're going to use either your 2 thumbs to perform compressions, or if they're laying flat, using your 2 fingers to perform compressions. And with smaller children, you're going to use 1 hand versus 2 hands.
Now, I know that CPR cannot be done on a bed, on anything soft surface. You're going to have to be on the floor.
Yep.
Well, how am I going to get on the floor with that little baby?
You're going to have to put them on the floor. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone.
And that is very important for parents especially. And I advise parents, if you don't know the basic hands-on, at least get involved and learn that, because CPR is the first step to survival.
It is.
And if they don't survive, you cannot blame yourself to say, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. What could I have done more?
What could I have done? Well, how could it have been different? Yeah. So those are some of the things. Now, I know the American Heart Association have lots of events coming up. Are there some that you would like to share with us?
So we have a couple coming up. So April 2nd is National Walking Day. We're going to be doing a wellness hike out at Eagle Marsh. And I can send you the link to that. But we're encouraging the public to come out and take a heart healthy hike. I'm going to have some heart healthy information that I'll be sharing with the public, and hopefully having some nice weather on this hike for us. We have our Go Red for Women on May 15th. And then we also have our STEM Goes Red to be determined this fall. And that is a high school program geared towards our high school students for STEM programs.
Now, I did bring some students to it last year when you had that. Can you, if a high school student is listening to it now and go, do I really want to go? What is it that they're going to learn by coming there?
So the students will have an opportunity to really connect with different students, like-minded students, different mentors, some of our leading companies here in Fort Wayne around these STEM-related roles. So anything science, technology, engineering, or math. And we've even included the arts into this over the past couple of years. So students that are even remotely interested in pursuing any kind of a career path in one of those areas, we encourage them to come out just to learn a little bit more about it, to hopefully spark their imagination and, to retain that local talent here in Fort Wayne by showcasing some of the amazing, companies that we have here.
Now, what part did the American Heart Association do at that conference or at that workshop?
So we are... this past year that we did, along with the partnership from the African American Healthcare Alliance, we were able to provide a CPR kit to every student in attendance. So we actually had a local pediatric cardiologist come in, and she went through all of the steps of the chain of survival with the students. All of the students were down on their hands and knees with their own mannequins performing CPR together as a group, and really just encouraging their peers to learn CPR. At the time, this is a little side story, at the time, I wasn't aware that we actually had a student survivor in the room with us. Oh. So we had a student that had suffered a cardiac arrest at one of our schools here locally, and I had the pleasure of meeting her parents a couple months after STEM, and I realized we kind of connect the dots, but she's actually our Teen of Impact this year.
Oh, good.
So she's busy in the community raising awareness for her peers and her teens to know CPR.
Now, if there was a student out there that was interested in becoming a part of your youth program, how would they do that? They would have had a heart attack, a cardiac arrest, but want to share their story.
They would want to get a hold of me, so they can either reach out to me personally at my email, which I can provide to you. It's shannah.flory@heart.org. So you can send all email responses to me, or you can work with your school. I'm happy to work with the principal if a school is wanting to become more involved, whether that's attending STEM or just sharing your story.
Okay. So if there is a young person out there or a parent that wants to get more information, again, I'm going to try and do it by memory. shannah.flory@heart.org.
Wow, that was impressive, Pat. Yes. That was good.
I thought I remembered it. I think I've hit it so many times
Probably.
in this last couple of weeks until it's easy to remember. But yes, we don't want people to think that we're just here trying to communicate for a fundraiser or stuff, but we want this to be a community
We do.
awareness to let you know that the American Heart Association is there and it's there to help.
Absolutely.
And I know COVID shut down a lot of things and people scattered and everything. But if you were once a part of the American Heart Association, please reach out to Shannah and let them know that you want to become a part again, because we have our religious group, our churches, and everything that was involved. But just kind of, again,
A lot
COVID kind of
happens.
slowed us down, and we got in the habit of just sitting at home on the couch. It's time to get up and get moving and get involved, because it does. It helps you become involved and
Hmm.
to know more about it. You don't have to be a survivor
Mm-mm.
of a heart attack or survivor of cardiac arrest to come out and be a part, because just spreading the word through the community help others to know that
Absolutely.
it's there and what it's there for. So please, if you're not listening, and if you are listening, share this with your friends and your family and let them know that Fort Wayne is active with the American Heart Association. Get involved. You don't have to go to every event,
No,
but get out there and find out more about it and find out what you can do to bring
absolutely.
it into your church,
Yeah.
into your school, and to your social groups so
Hmm.
that they too can know what to do.
And even into your homes, into your personal homes. You know, how many viewers are on right now can raise their hand and say that they would be comfortable performing CPR on a loved one if something were to happen right now.
And that
They got
that
to
too,
make
that is very
they
important
got
to
to make
know.
that
You
pact.
got to make that pact to do it. I often hear a lot of people, so I you were talking about hands on. I hear a lot of people, I'm not breathing on nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to
Nope.
breathe. If you can do those compressions and do it fast, that's the important thing, and deep
Yep.
enough until the 911 responders, until they arrive. And one of the things that we do say, when you call 911, don't hang up.
Yes.
You know, everybody now have the cell phone. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to run to the wall like we used to. Now I'm
Yeah.
dating myself and telling you how old I am. But you can put that phone right there beside you,
Mm-hmm.
and the responders are going to talk you through,
Yeah. The
and they
responders will
will.
even tell you, to start compressions. They will walk you through everything. And if you're in a public place where you're calling 911 on a bystander and there's an AED close by, they're going to be able to walk you through those steps too. It's very a
Now, what
simple
is an
process.
AED?
AED is an automated external defibrillator. So
Okay.
that is used in the event of a cardiac arrest to shock the victim if it detects an abnormal rhythm. So, in the event if someone collapses, kind of going back to the heart attack versus the cardiac arrest, if someone collapses and we can't find a pulse, we don't necessarily know whether they've had a heart attack or a cardiac arrest.
Hmm.
So, it's very vital to start the CPR right away. But if there's an AED present, we'll want to place that so it can analyze. It'll actually talk to you and tell you once it's placed on the victim whether you need to deliver a shock or not, or whether you need to still do compressions.
Okay. And that will help.
It will absolutely help.
Wow. So that is stuff that people need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And are there AEDs? Where do you find them?
Typically, you can find them in big public areas. So you go to the mall, you're going to find them. You go to the Ball Diamond, you're going to find them. Most businesses, but this is actually something where we're hoping to improve. This is an area that I think that can be done better across our community, as far as having access to public AEDs in the community or at your place of business. But even furthering that, of not necessarily just having the AED there, but having the knowledge and the training and a response plan in place at your place of business in the event an employee or someone goes down, you're prepared and you're ready. And someone knows where the AED is, they know how to use it, instead of, fumbling around and not knowing where it's at.
Oh, good. Thank you, Shannah, for
Hmm.
being here with us tonight. And I certainly hope that this program has been beneficial to our community. Again, please, if you're out there, connect with the American Heart Association. And Shannah has said her email, just email her.
Yeah.
And any questions that you have after the show tonight, please reach out and it can be done. You can become a part of the American Heart Association.
We would love to have you.
And they will definitely be happy to have. There's much work to be done.
There is.
It's just a few right now, but we're hoping to bring it back to what it was pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
To have everybody out there. And before we close tonight, being healthy is not a goal. It's a way of life. It's your way of life. It's how you take care of yourself and your heart. And here at ONV, before we close out, we always say, protect your mind.